You guys, can you hear me in the back? All right. There's no way that we I have horns honking here. There's no way that we can observe International Working Women's Day today without soundly denouncing the war launched by the U.S. and Israel against Iran. And in particular, the impact of this brutal war on Iranian women. Among the first victims of U.S. bombs were 160 school children, mainly girls, in Manab, Iran. Apparently, U.S. artificial intelligence claimed this was a military base, although the school was built on the site 10 years ago.
Momentary.
But on the same day, 20 female volleyball players were killed in another airstrike on Iran's Fars province. Even before February 28th, women in Iran suffered from U.S. sanctions that limited women's basic access to health care and other needs. Sanctions created job losses, which disproportionately impact women. And restrictions on imports reduce access to essential goods, including sanitary napkins. I decided to give this talk today because last Saturday, during a protest against the U.S. war in Iran, a pro-Israeli male counter-demonstrator tried to disrupt the event, shouting that we should be, quote, concerned about women in Iran, end quote. He reminded me that back in 2002, before the first war on Iraq, U.S. propaganda claimed they wanted to, quote, save Iraqi women, end quote. And in the course of that war, between 500,000 to 1 million people were killed, mainly women and children. The idea that U.S. imperialism wants to, quote, save Muslim women, end quote, is, in the words of my comrade, Palestinian writer Susan Abu Hawa, quote, the tired bullshit the West has used to actually destroy the lives of Muslim women for decades, end quote. Hear it from Susan. In an article on the status of women in Iran, she wrote the following points. Prior to the Islamic Revolution in 1979, the literacy rate for women under Western-backed Shah of Iran was 42%. In less than a decade of the revolution, that number climbed to 98%. In Iran today, 70% of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics graduates are women. Far exceeding U.S. level, which stands at 53%. In Iran, the rate of intentional murder of women is less than 1 per 100,000. In the U.S., that number is nearly 4 times higher for all women. But there are stark racial disparities. Black and indigenous women in the U.S. are nearly 5 times more likely to be murdered than white women. In Iran, women hold 27% of ministerial level posts, with 121 judges, female judges, and 25% of managerial. Anyway.
Turn the mic like this.
Turn the mic like that. Okay. Is that better? Okay. You'd think after all these years I'd get used to it. In Iran, the law on family and youth support mandates 9 months paid, P-A-I-D, maternity leave for public and private sectors, plus an optional 4 months remote work during pregnancy, job security protections for extended unpaid leave, and 2 weeks paternity leave. In the U.S., the only federal guarantee is 12 weeks of unpaid maternity leave. And we say the women over there need to be safe. Free maternity care and subsidized infertility treatments, free maternal and delivery services, including for uninsured women. Infertility treatments are heavily subsidized at 90%, and we have to fight for them. There are labor protections. Pregnant women are reassigned from hazardous jobs without pay loss. Nursing breaks are offered until a child is 2 years old. Workplace child care provisions are required. Family support policies under demographic law that includes housing assistance, loans for married couples, job prioritization for parents, child care subsidies, and retirement benefits for mothers with multiple children. And this one I think you're going to love. Gender-affirming treatment. Iran legalized gender-affirming surgery, SRS, in the 1980s. In the U.S., SRS is for profit industry with no subsidies and increasingly under attack by Trump. And earlier a speaker talked about the reactionary law that the Kansas legislature passed, anti-trans ruling that we have to make sure we keep fighting against. And just one last statistics, because I thought we had to include it. Women in Pennsylvania make up a majority of workers. Workers stuck in low-wage jobs in a state that refuses to raise the minimum wage above totally unlivable $7.25 an hour. Donald Trump and his hegemon, Marco Rubio, their agenda is for global U.S. imperialist domination. It includes illegally kidnapping Venezuela leader Celia Flores in early January. Shout out to the protests today in New York calling for her liberation. And as an earlier speaker said, we cannot forget the ongoing, I'm going to say that. We cannot forget the ongoing genocide in Gaza. The United Nations found that the number of women and children killed in Gaza by the Israeli military in the first year alone was higher than in any other comparable conflict. And with the world attention focused on Iran, Israel has shut off access to food going into Gaza again. The Trump administration's agenda targets millions of undocumented workers in the U.S. with immigration and customs enforcement raids on communities and schools. We shout out to the students in Quakertown who got arrested for demonstrating against ICE. 35 of them. International Working Women's Day was birthed in the struggle of immigrant working women in the garment industry in New York. It grew wings from the struggle of working and oppressed women in Russia that helped fuel the Russian Revolution for socialism in 1917. Its revitalization in the U.S. in the early 1970s, of which I was a part of, came as the result of movements linking opposition to the U.S. war in Vietnam, the attacks on the Black Panther Party, and the resurgence of the women's movement. We have a challenge today. Do we settle for reforms, if that's still an option? Or do we recognize that if women and other gender-oppressed people will ever be liberated, we have to tear down this rotten-ass capitalist imperialist system and replace it with socialism under which women's rights will be fully guaranteed? Thank you.
Let's go make some noise if you know it's for all.